My beloved child, something quiet has been moving around your life, and tonight it feels closer than before, not to frighten you, not to disturb your peace, but to help you understand why your heart has been sensing a shift before your eyes could see it. There are moments when life does not announce change loudly. It begins softly, through a strange heaviness in the room, through a memory returning without reason, through a name crossing your mind when you were not trying to think of them. And maybe you have felt it too. Maybe lately, even while doing ordinary things, you sensed that something unfinished was slowly finding its way back toward your door. Don't skip, because this is not about pain returning to break you. This is about truth arriving in a way you did not expect. The one who hurt you has been carrying more than they ever admitted, and something in their world has begun to press on their heart with a weight they can no longer ignore. A silence has been speaking behind the scenes, and it has been louder than any apology they never gave. For a long time, you may have wondered if they noticed what they did to you. You may have questioned whether your tears mattered, whether your patience was seen, whether your kindness was misunderstood as weakness. But listen closely, some people do not understand the value of a gentle heart until they are forced to live without its warmth. They move forward thinking distance will protect them from accountability, thinking time will cover the truth, thinking your silence means you forgot. But silence does not always mean forgetting. Sometimes silence becomes a mirror. And now, that mirror is turning toward them. Something important is waiting for you in this message, because what is coming toward your home is not just heartbreak, it is a revelation wrapped in emotion. A message, a realization, a confession, or a moment of honesty may come closer than you expect. Not necessarily through dramatic words. Not necessarily through a loud return. Sometimes life brings news through a small sign, a sudden conversation, a shift in someone's tone, or the way a person finally stops pretending they are untouched. And the one who once caused you confusion may now be standing inside their own confusion, realizing that what they walked away from was not ordinary. There is a strange kind of justice that does not shout. It simply unfolds. It lets every heart meet the truth it tried to avoid. And you, my beloved child, have been learning how to breathe without chasing explanations. You have been learning how to hold your dignity even when your emotions wanted to run back and ask why. Do you know how powerful that is? To feel deeply and still choose peace. To be wounded and still refuse to become cruel. To be misunderstood and still not let bitterness become your identity. That is not weakness. That is spiritual strength wearing a quiet face. The atmosphere around you has been changing because you are no longer standing in the same place emotionally. The version of you who waited for them to see your worth is slowly fading. A new version is rising, and this version does not beg to be chosen. This version does not explain love to people who used it carelessly. This version understands that closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is the moment you realize you survived what you thought would empty you. Stay till the end, because the deeper truth is not that they hurt you. The deeper truth is that what they did could not destroy the softness that makes you rare. A small turn is approaching, and it may feel emotional because it touches an old part of your heart. The one who hurt you may be entering a season where they finally understand the cost of their choices. Not as punishment. Not as revenge. But as awareness. They may begin to see how your presence protected them from loneliness they did not know they had. They may remember the way you listened. The way you stayed calm when they were difficult. The way you gave grace even when your own heart was tired. And when a person finally remembers love after losing access to it, the memory does not arrive gently. It arrives like a room suddenly filled with light, showing everything they tried not to look at. But here is the part you must hear slowly: this news coming toward your home is also about you. It is about how your energy has changed. It is about how the pain that once made you question yourself is now becoming proof that you were always capable of rising. You may have thought the heartbreak was only taking something away from you. But quietly, it was teaching you discernment. It was teaching you not every familiar voice deserves access to your peace. It was teaching you that love without respect becomes a lesson, and a lesson understood becomes a doorway. There was a time when their actions may have made you feel replaceable. Maybe they acted distant. Maybe they gave attention elsewhere. Maybe they spoke in ways that made your heart shrink. Maybe they left you carrying questions that no caring person should leave behind. Yet somehow, even through that, you kept a light inside you. You did not become what hurt you. You did not let one person's blindness define your beauty. That matters more than you know. Because some hearts are tested not to break them, but to reveal the depth they carry. A message may come. A name may appear. A memory may return with unusual timing. Or someone may speak words that connect the missing pieces. But before any outer news arrives, the inner news must land first: you are not the same person they left confused. You are becoming someone they may no longer know how to reach. That is why this season feels so intense. Not because you are losing control, but because life is rearranging the emotional balance. The person who once held power through uncertainty may now be facing uncertainty themselves. And you, the one who once waited for clarity, may now be the one holding peace. Pause here for a moment. Have you noticed how your heart still feels, but it no longer collapses the same way? Have you noticed that certain memories still visit, but they do not own the whole room anymore? That is healing. Not the loud kind. The sacred kind. The kind that happens when your soul slowly stops asking, "Why was I not enough?" and begins whispering, "I was enough," even when they could not see it. The heartbreaking part is this: they may finally understand you after the old version of you has stepped away. They may finally feel the absence of your care when you are no longer pouring from a wounded place. They may finally recognize your loyalty when they are surrounded by moments that feel empty in comparison. But the beautiful part is this: their realization does not need to pull you backward. It can simply confirm what your spirit already knew. You were genuine. You were not imagining the connection. You were not foolish for caring. You were human, hopeful, and brave. Something behind the curtain is shifting, and it feels personal because it is touching the exact place where you once felt unseen. Yet this time, you are being invited to see yourself differently. Not as the person who was hurt, but as the person who grew through what was meant to diminish them. Not as the one waiting outside someone's heart, but as the one learning to return fully to their own. That is the rare realization hidden in this moment. Sometimes the news that breaks the old story becomes the same news that sets your future free. And still, there is more unfolding. Because the one who hurt you has not simply forgotten. Their mind may have gone quiet, their pride may have acted strong, their words may have been few, but something inside them has been remembering. And when remembrance becomes too heavy, people either run deeper into distraction, or they finally turn toward the truth. Which one will they choose? That is the part still forming in the distance. That is the unanswered door. That is why this message arrived now. For tonight, hold your peace close. Do not let your heart rush ahead. Do not let old pain write tomorrow's meaning. Let the truth come softly. Let your strength remain steady. Because what is approaching your home is not here to make you afraid. It is here to reveal what has been hidden, to show you how far you have come, and to remind you that the person who once hurt you may now be standing at the edge of a realization they cannot easily escape, and what they discover next may change the way they remember you forever. There are realizations that arrive too late for the person who ignored what mattered, and yet they still arrive with undeniable force. The one who hurt you has entered a season where memory no longer feels like memory. It feels like consequence. Ordinary moments have begun to turn against their distractions. A quiet room reminds them of conversations they once took for granted. A song they did not expect to hear suddenly carries your presence in every note. Even the smallest things, the way someone laughs, the way a message appears, the way evening falls, have started pulling your name through their thoughts when they least expect it. They may never say this aloud, but your absence has become louder than your presence once was. And that realization is not comfortable for them. What they once treated lightly now feels heavy. What they once thought they could replace now feels strangely irreplaceable. Because there is a painful lesson many people only learn after loss: real hearts are rare. Genuine loyalty is rare. The kind of love that chooses patience even when wounded. The kind of heart that still gave warmth while carrying its own pain, that is not something life places in every doorway. And now they are beginning to understand that what they had with you was never ordinary. It only looked ordinary because you gave it so naturally. But listen carefully, the heartbreak moving toward your home is not only about regret. It is about revelation. It is about truths surfacing that have been buried beneath pride, denial, and distance. Someone around them may begin to notice the shift in them. Someone may hear them speak differently about you. Someone may witness the hesitation in their voice when your name enters conversation. Because when a person tries to hide emotion for too long, it eventually leaks through the cracks. It appears in their silence. In their eyes. In the way they pause before pretending they have moved on. And perhaps the most surprising part of all. They may be realizing that the very qualities they once overlooked in you are the qualities they cannot stop searching for in everyone else. They compare without meaning to. They measure without admitting it. They meet people who seem impressive at first, yet something feels missing. Why? Because surface charm cannot replace emotional depth. Attention cannot replace understanding. Convenience cannot replace the comfort of being truly known. And slowly, painfully, they are learning that lesson through comparison after comparison, moment after moment. Meanwhile, you have been changing in ways even you may not fully notice yet. The hurt did not destroy your tenderness, it refined your discernment. You now recognize things you once excused. You feel energies you once ignored. You notice when effort is real and when words are empty. That is growth. Quiet, beautiful growth. The kind that does not need to announce itself. The kind that simply changes what you will and will not accept moving forward. Don't skip, because here is what many never understand until it is too late. Sometimes the person who loses the most is not the one who was left in pain, it is the one who failed to value what they had while they had it. You may have cried when they walked away. You may have broken in private while pretending to be fine. You may have wondered if they were happier without you. But pain can be deceptive. The one who hurts first is not always the one who loses most. Sometimes the deepest loss belongs to the one who realizes too late what they let slip through their hands. There is a moment approaching, whether through direct contact, through someone else's words, or through undeniable signs, where you may sense their emotional walls weakening. You may feel them trying to understand you differently than before. You may notice their energy shifting from certainty into reflection. Because pride can delay truth, but it cannot erase it forever. Eventually, the heart begins speaking louder than ego. Still, this unfolding is not simply about whether they return, reach out, or admit what they feel. It is about whether they have changed enough to deserve access to the version of you standing here now. That is the question your spirit must keep in front of you. Because missing you is not the same as becoming better. Regret is not the same as growth. Realization is not the same as transformation. And if they come closer again, it must be with truth in their hands, not just emotion in their eyes. Something important is waiting for you in that understanding. You are no longer the person who must accept crumbs because they once called it love. You are no longer the person who confuses emotional intensity with emotional maturity. You have learned that someone feeling strongly does not automatically mean they are ready to love correctly. That lesson cost you tears, but it gave you wisdom. And wisdom, once earned, changes everything. The energy surrounding your home feels heavy because an emotional cycle is nearing its turning point. Old confusion is preparing to meet clarity. Old wounds are preparing to meet understanding. Old questions are preparing to receive answers, perhaps not all at once, perhaps not in the form you imagined, but in ways your spirit will recognize. There is movement behind what appears still. There is emotion behind what appears silent. There is truth behind what was once hidden. And somewhere inside them, the one who hurt you is wrestling with something they did not expect, the realization that your silence was never emptiness, it was strength. They may have assumed your quiet meant weakness. They may have believed your patience meant you would always remain available. They may have mistaken your gentleness for permanence. But now they are learning something unsettling: soft hearts can walk away too. Kind people can close doors too. Loving souls can reach a point where peace matters more than attachment. And that realization changes everything. If they do come forward, if truth begins to surface, if their regret finally finds language, you must remember this moment. Remember how far you had to travel emotionally to stand where you stand now. Remember the nights you had to comfort yourself. Remember the days you had to keep moving while your heart felt heavy. Remember the strength it took to heal without the apology you deserved. Because your healing was not temporary. It was earned. And nothing that returns to you should be allowed to erase the wisdom pain taught you. The next chapter of this story is not simply about what they feel. It is about what they are willing to confront within themselves. Because to truly come back with honesty, they must face the part of themselves that caused the damage in the first place. They must admit what pride denied. They must understand the weight of their choices. They must recognize the pain they caused without minimizing it. And not everyone is brave enough for that. Some people miss you deeply, and still lack the courage to become the version of themselves worthy of reconciliation. That is why the unfolding remains uncertain. Not because your worth is uncertain. Not because the connection was imagined. But because awareness creates a choice. And not everyone chooses growth when truth arrives. Some choose ego. Some choose avoidance. Some choose to feel regret quietly rather than confront what it demands of them. And if that happens, let it teach you one final lesson. Someone recognizing your value does not obligate you to reopen every door. Yet if they do rise, if they do face themselves, if they do return transformed rather than merely emotional, then what follows may be the conversation neither of you were ready for before. A truth spoken with no masks. A confession with no games. A vulnerability that was once impossible. But that moment has not arrived yet. It is still forming. It is still moving toward you. And the silence before it is where everything is being decided. So for now, keep your heart open, but not unguarded. Keep your compassion, but not at the expense of your peace. Keep your hope, but let wisdom hold its hand. Because what is coming next will reveal whether their heartbreak became maturity or merely memory. And when that answer arrives, you will know exactly what to do, because by then, your heart will no longer be searching for permission to choose what is best for you. And what they may confess when the silence finally breaks, may be more vulnerable than anything you ever expected to hear. Sometimes the truth does not arrive in the form of a grand apology. Sometimes it comes in a trembling voice, in hesitant words, in the way someone can no longer hide what their heart has been carrying. And the confession building inside them may begin with something far simpler than you imagined, an admission that they have not been at peace since losing what they had with you. Because for all the distance, for all the silence, for all the ways they tried to move forward without looking back, your presence has remained in the spaces they cannot escape. Not because you haunted them through force, but because what was real leaves an imprint. Genuine connection does not disappear simply because two people stop speaking. It lingers. It echoes. It waits. The one who hurt you may soon reach a moment where pretending no longer feels possible. A moment where their pride becomes too exhausting to maintain. A moment where the image they tried to uphold begins cracking under the weight of what they truly feel. And when that moment comes, what emerges may surprise even them. Not polished words. Not rehearsed explanations. Just honesty, raw, imperfect, overdue honesty. The kind that can only come from someone who has finally stopped running from themselves. But before that confession reaches your ears, something else must happen within you. You must understand that their awakening does not define your worth. It only confirms what was already true. Their realization is not the beginning of your value. It is simply their delayed recognition of it. You were worthy when they misunderstood you. You were worthy when they overlooked you. You were worthy when they chose confusion over clarity. And you remain worthy whether they return or not. Stay till the end, because this next truth matters more than any apology ever could. Sometimes the person who hurt you returns not to reclaim you, but to reveal how much you changed them by leaving. Sometimes your absence becomes the lesson they never listened to while you were present. Sometimes losing access to your heart becomes the very thing that teaches them how carelessly they once handled it. That does not erase the pain. It does not rewrite history. But it does reveal something profound. Your love was never small. It was powerful enough to leave a mark even after distance. They may tell someone they compare everyone to you. They may admit they thought they would find your energy again somewhere else and never did. They may confess that what looked like confidence after the separation was mostly distraction. That what seemed like moving on was actually avoidance. That what looked like peace was only noise covering emptiness. Because many people learn too late that replacing attention is easy, replacing emotional safety is not. And if these truths reach you, they may stir emotions you thought had settled. Old tenderness may rise. Old memories may return softened by time. Your heart may ask dangerous questions. What if they really changed? What if this is what I waited for? What if the story is not over? These are human questions. Natural questions. But do not let nostalgia answer them too quickly. Missing what was beautiful does not erase what was painful. Longing for what could be does not automatically mean it should be. This is where your strength will be tested. Not in surviving the hurt, but in responding wisely when the hurt returns dressed as regret. Because regret can sound beautiful. Regret can speak tenderly. Regret can make promises. But only growth can create safety. Only transformation can rebuild trust. Only consistency can prove that insight has become character. Words may open the door, but changed behavior is what decides whether someone should walk through it. There is another layer to what is unfolding, one even deeper than their regret. They are beginning to understand that the pain they caused you was also a reflection of their own unhealed places. Their distance may have come from fear. Their inconsistency may have come from immaturity. Their hurtful choices may have come from wounds they never learned to face. This does not excuse what happened. But it may explain why someone who felt something real still mishandled it. Some people destroy what they care about simply because they do not yet know how to hold healthy love without sabotaging it. And now they may be facing themselves in ways they never had before. They may be asking questions they once avoided. Why did I push away someone who cared? Why did I choose pride over honesty? Why did I treat depth casually? Why did I hurt the one person who saw me clearly? Those questions can break a person open. They can humble a heart. They can force growth where comfort once kept everything stagnant. Yet even if they change, even if they come back different, even if their voice carries truth you once begged to hear, the most important shift in this story is not happening in them. It is happening in you. You are learning that love is not proven by how much pain you can endure. You are learning that loyalty should not require self-abandonment. You are learning that being understanding does not mean tolerating disrespect. You are learning that forgiveness and access are not the same thing. That understanding makes you powerful in a quiet way. Because now, if they return, you do not meet them from desperation. You meet them from discernment. You do not listen with the ears of someone starving for closure. You listen with the wisdom of someone who knows what healing cost. You no longer ask, do they want me? You ask, can they meet me where I am now? That question changes everything. Something important is waiting for you beyond this moment. Because whether reconciliation happens or not, you are approaching a chapter where emotional clarity replaces confusion. No more guessing. No more overanalyzing mixed signals. No more shrinking yourself to fit someone else's uncertainty. The fog is lifting. The truth is approaching. And when truth finally stands in front of you, fully revealed, undeniable, impossible to ignore, you will not need anyone else to interpret it for you. Your spirit will know. The heartbreaking news once approaching your home may not be heartbreak in the way you feared. It may be heartbreaking because someone is finally confronting the pain they caused. Because someone is finally grieving what they lost. Because someone who once looked unaffected is no longer able to pretend. Because the one who hurt you is discovering that some losses follow a person quietly, until one day they realize they have been carrying regret the entire time. And when they finally speak, if they finally speak, their words may carry a truth they never thought they would have to admit, that losing you changed them, that your absence taught them, that your silence forced them to hear everything they once ignored. What happens after that confession, what choice you make when their truth reaches your door, that is where the real turning point begins.